Before we start this video, Crashdown issue number 2 debuts this week on Wednesday at a comic shop near you. So make sure you pick it up. And if you missed out on it or you can't find it and you've depleted all other resources to support an LCS, because that's what I'm asking you to do,
go buy it from a comic shop.
And if you can't, comitom101.store. We have all the issues there as well. And the day of this release is the last day to pre-order issue number 3. Please support our first story we've ever written. It's a horror sci-fi with living horror legend, Ben Templesmith.
Yeah, get on the phone to your LCS person and bug them. Call them a whole bunch and tell them, preferably after the deadline, and ask them if they can order it for you. Just kidding. Do it before. That's what deadlines are for. That's what pre-ordering's for. Please support our book. It would mean a lot.
Let's get into it. The 10 hottest selling trending comics this week, and number 10 on the list sold out at our LCS.
The buzz this week about Edge of Spiderverse number 1 was absolutely real, and we completely and totally sold out of cover A. So I love it when Marvel does this thing where they send us a secret variant, which is what we see at number 10. Number 10 on the list, Edge of Spiderverse number 1, the secret variant, 1 per store, although some of you that get stuff from Penguin and Diamond may have gotten 2 of them. $40 average sales and $60 high sales for a raw. This book went crazy. We sold every single copy of cover A and B off the shelf, so it is awesome that we had another great secret variant to sell.
We have a first appearance of a Spider meets Wolverine character. I need to read the comic book still, full disclosure, but the issue does debut a Weapon 8.
I guess that is part of the fun of these Spider-Verse comics, is they do feature like character mashups of different characters from different universes. You really don't know what to expect when you crack open one of these. I'm really interested in this book because of the cover artist, who I'm aware of from the book The Call from Image with Kelly Thompson. We're talking about Mattia de Luce. I know I said that wrong. I am so sorry. Your art's great, though. I'm a big fan of The Call. I'm especially a big fan of the art on this Spider-Man cover, and I would want one for myself, even just for the cover, but I might wait until hopefully the price comes down in a little bit.
Considering we have 2 different distributors sending these out as a 1 per store, that means a lot of stores are now getting 2, so safe to say there's between 4 and maybe 6,000 copies of this book that actually went to press. Yeah, it's hitting upwards of 60. Probably chilling around $40. Be a little patient. You'll probably be able to save a little bit of money on that. Keep an eye out for issue 3 if new characters are your jam, because it looks like we're going to be seeing a debut of another Spider character, Star Spider. Hit the like and subscribe. We've been doing this video for nearly 6 years, and we'll keep you up to date on this rapidly moving marketplace. And number 9 on the list is World Tree number 1, James Tynion IV, seeing $4 average sales and a pretty strong 9.8. creeping up towards that $80 marker because of spec, kind of. They made a lot of copies of this book.
This is a 113% increase in copies sold this week, and keep in mind that the one on the list is the corrected version. For those of you that remember, copies of World Tree number 1 were sent out to shops and immediately recalled because they were too dark. They sent out the same quantity that people ordered in a corrected version. Well, if you look at the number that had been graded at a 9.8, more copies of the recalled dark version are available than the corrected version, and that's why we're seeing a movement this week.
The other bigger reason we're seeing a movement on this book this week is because it was just announced that James Tynion has founded a new production house. He's kind of upgraded his whole Tiny Onion empire that he's been running over on Substack for the last year or 2. Now it's becoming Tiny Onion Productions. It's this whole big production company shepherding comics from creation to various publishers and probably even doing movie stuff in there too. It's kind of a unique thing in the comic world right now, but it does have collectors looking at various James Tynion properties and speculating on which ones may or may not be hitting the screen soon.
Jimmy T has been doing this a lot, changing up ways of distributing comics because he's making comics at different publishing companies. And he even mentions it in the article that it's not the easiest process to do this well. So he's going to team up with a group. He's going to offer services to help push new up-and-coming books outside of the ones that are under his umbrella. But this line is the most intriguing to me. He says that comic marketing is especially difficult right now. How do you get messages out in a fragmented social media space? We have a system that we are going to build and replicate by bringing those skills in from the outside. It sounds like he's going to strive to bring the mainstream in as it pertains to marketing, which we have been saying for years needs to happen for the comic industry to survive. Kudos to James Tynion, I'm all in. World Tree, don't be buying 9/8. Just pick up a $4 cover price book. It's probably a safer bet. There are a lot of other James Tynion books that I would be speculating on.
There are, but in my opinion, some of the bigger ones have already been optioned. You might have missed the boat on that in terms of like Something is Killing the Children or
Department of Truth.
Exactly. Those are both kind of already being worked on. World Tree at the moment is not currently optioned, so that's not the worst way to look. I would also personally rather check out Nice House on the Lake as a recommendation, or even something older like The Woods.
Number 8 on the list is Fantastic Four Life Story number 1. And I told you I would read it, and I did. All of it. And it was superb. Mark Russell, kudos. And it's seeing $5 average sales, $50 for a CGC 9.8. And yes, there is spec as it pertains to what era the Fantastic Four, the first Marvel family, will be seen on the screen, in this new MCU that we have for the first time. However, there are some books that are so damn good that at a 9.8, $50 seems like a fair bet. And if it drops to 40 or 30, I would still buy it. And this book has just entered that threshold. It is fantastic. No pun.
You guys have been doing this longer than I have, so you might have seen this happen, but this is the first time I've noticed a book like this hitting the trending list 2 weeks in a row. Like, there's no news. It's not optioned. I guess they're making a Fantastic Four movie, and it might kind of be influenced by this.
An increase of 200% in copies sold. I'm thinking they took your advice, Ryan. You said it was one of your favorite reads in the last couple of years. They probably went to their comic shop, couldn't find it, and went to other places and bought it there because the 9.8 price matched this week.
That's true. Yeah, the all-time high was $50. Someone spent that in September 2021, and that sale was just matched this last week. So I guess that's good news for this book. There are still only 9 slabs on the census, though, so find it raw if you can.
It's out of canon, so you don't have to read or know any Fantastic Four to enjoy this, and it takes you through the lives of the first Marvel family by the decade. And Galactus is coming, and Reed Richards is losing his mind, and by the end of it, he can't move. You got to read this book.
You got to read this book. You got to read everything Mark Russell does. He's like in the top tier of writers. Do not sleep on what he is doing. I love the man. He's always doing something new, especially over at AWA. Like Rumpus Room just finished. I love that book. Go read that out if you're looking for another recommendation from this writer. We need to move on. We need to move on to a book that I love. I love it so much.
Spoiler warning, because there's no other way we can talk about this book because it is on here for a reason.
If you are a Spawn reader or fan, just skip this whole number because I think the character that we're about to talk about is kind of a spoiler in and of itself. So this is your warning.
Brand new this week, Spawn number 350, and we are finding out who is ultimately going to occupy the throne that has been unoccupied since issue number 100. We are talking a ridiculously long run of Spawn. So right now, we have number 7 on the list, Spawn 122, the first appearance of Nyx, who later becomes the She-Spawn. $45 average sales and a CGC 9.8 for $145, which is massively down from the all-time high of 2 sales that were over $1,000 in 2021.
This is why you have to hit the subscribe button because we track all the numbers. And if you were to look at one of the main places that numbers get collected for review to individuals to decide if they want to invest, the highest this book ever reached was like $2,500. But a month later, the same sorted slabs sold, which means one of two things. The very likelihood that this book actually didn't complete the sale and then was sold the next month for $1,800 cheaper than the reported high sale, or someone bought the book and 30 days later took a bath of $1,800. It didn't sell.
Even with that explanation, in 2021, we were seeing multiple sales of this book in a 9.8 over $600, up to, again, $1,053 was the height that we saw that seemed like a legitimate sale. But keep in mind that in 2021, this is when Todd McFarlane came out and issued new Spawn. We had the King Spawn run, we had the Gunslinger Spawn run, we had the Scorched run that had a whole bunch of other Spawn stuff happening. So all of these secondary characters that were really big throughout the Spawn run started getting their own titles. And that's the reason why I believe in February of 2021, 2 years ago, we saw this book almost 5 times the price of what it's going for now.
And number 6 on the list, it's finally happened. The ultimate nullifier, the secret weapon between Marvel and DC. A crossover is happening, and it's placing DC versus Marvel Comics number 1 on the list. It's hitting $12 average sales, $128 for a CGC 9.8, but it's not happening in the comics in a new way, unfortunately. And it's not happening because of Sir Kate's, unfortunately. It's happening because of the Omni's finally going to press.
We've got a 367% increase in copies sold for this issue in anticipation for these Omni reprints coming out later this year. Since these books were all 90s books, I missed them. I would actually kind of like to track down these Omnis and read this stuff for the first time, honestly. You've got the DC versus Marvel Omnibus, which is just one of them. They both come out on the same day, actually, too. We're talking August 6th here. But yeah, the DC versus Marvel Omnibus, and then DC Marvel, the Amalgam Age Omnibus, which is going to feature all of those kind of like Dark Claw kind of character mashup one-shots that came out. So
Like Batman combined with Wolverine. This is the part that I'm most excited about, by the way.
right. So yeah, they're in two separate omnis, so you can kind of pick one or the other, or both if you feel like it. But yeah, they will both drop in August on the same day.
Even owning an LCS, I miss stuff. There is so much comic book news, and it's great to have a singular source that keeps me updated. Over on the Key Collector app, there is a section called Nick's Picks, and these omnibus were mentioned on that. It's a great resource to be able to pull together all of the information that you may have missed in a busy week.
Utilize code Tom101. You support the show, but you also get access to the app in its entirety, a full 2-week free subscription. But 99% of the app is completely free to catalog your comics, learn about key comic books, learn about what's coming, and so much more. Next on the list at number 5 is Marvel Team Up 65, Henry Cavill moving comics again. And this book has taken a mighty plunge, dare I say. We're seeing $85 average sales. Dude, $382 for a CGC 9.8. This book was over $1,000 for all of 2021.
My caveat on that $382 price is that it was on auction. There were only a few bidders, and we have had recent buy it now sales in the $600 to $700 range. That's still massively down from the all-time highs we were seeing back in 2022, $1,900. Now, I may happen to have some friends across the pond over in the UK, and we may have some rumors that they've been talking about that Henry Cavill's supposed to have been Captain Britain for a while. These are not rumors that are silent everywhere. A lot of people have been talking about it, but there's so much more potential for what Henry Cavill could be. Is that the reason why we're talking about this? Could this be a book that you need to buy?
To me, personally, this whole Henry Cavill at Marvel thing feels sort of like a kind of vengeful fan casting of from people who are a little bitter that his like Superman role didn't really pan out and develop the way it should have over the course of the entire Snyder era, in my opinion, at DC. I think we've seen him kind of fan casted as the Sentry lately, which is just Marvel's version of Superman. So I think that's sort of a funny way to kind of stick it to DC for letting go Henry Cavill. But we've seen also rumors this week that he's going to maybe play Doctor Doom and Captain Britain. So like the spec on this actor, I should say, is sort of all over the place. He's also no longer playing The Witcher and no longer playing Superman. His schedule's pretty clear and wide open. I would love to see him do something at Marvel. We just don't know what.
An increase of 400% in copies sold. We were talking about Henry Cavill 2 weeks ago because of Red Sun. He's going to end up somewhere. It's just, is it going to be Marvel or DC or both? I mean, next on the list at number 4, I don't even know. I've never played this game before. Borderlands number 1.
I'm so excited.
I'm like, okay, so sometimes there are books on here that I don't know. Ryan doesn't know. And we sit down as a team and we're like, okay, so you don't know it, I don't know it. We hope that Russ knows it. And when he came in, we're like, did you see the trailer? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, are you excited? He says, yeah. I'm like, good. You're doing this.
You do it.
Okay, so
I'm not.
Guys, the book is irrelevant. It doesn't even matter.
The game is
really,
irrelevant.
Number 4 on the list, we do have Borderlands Origins number 1, right? And this book is selling for a price, but it doesn't even really matter because it's going to move. People are going to be buying it because this movie looks amazing. Shut up, Ryan. I don't even care. I'm excited. I'm watching the trailer and I see the Rax and I see Moxie and I see we got the Siren, we got Tiantina. I mean, there is so much fan service. I'm happy. It really looks like Mad Max with a clown makeup job, and I think that's exactly what Borderlands needs to be.
I haven't been traditionally too hyped about video game adaptations, but I was a big fan of Mortal Kombat as a kid. And I also have to say, I really like Twisted Metal, and I didn't think I would like that, and everyone needs to watch it. It's hilarious, and they do the game justice. Think of Super Mario Brothers. Who's not excited to see Zelda? And this is directed by Eli Roth. Jack Black's in it. Kevin Hart's in it. Jamie Lee Curtis is in it. Like, I'm going to have to watch this movie.
You guys can go watch it. I think it looks like a soulless mashup between like from some executives who watched like a Guardians 3 trailer and decided to take that and mash it together with Mad Max and make some sort of soulless, like 15 years too late video game adaptation of a game that sucks. Let's move on.
I'm going to go watch Guardians of the Galaxy again. And I've already seen Mad Max again this year.
Both great movies.
Roast Ryan in the chat, and let's talk about number 3 on the list because this next book is absolutely perpetually relevant and is selling for like cheap.
Number 3 on the list, it's another one of those specs that just won't die. Ghost Rider number 28, seeing $25 average sales and $142 for CGC 9.8. And I think the last time we reported on this, and the last time before that, and the last time before that, and the last time before that, I mean, in the last 4.5, 5, 6 years, we've talked about this book numerous times, and it's always in the $20 to $25 range with a 9.8 that's like $120 to $150. This is just one of those books that, yeah, it's kind of worth what it's worth.
First appearance of Midnight Suns, an increase of copies sold of 250%. No one's really expecting Oscar Isaac to reprise the role. You know, we hope that he will, and he was asked about it a few times, but over the last 2 weeks, he got very specific about it, and he actually dropped the name Midnight Suns.
I thought there was an interesting opportunity with Midnight Suns, you know?
And you think about it, you got Blade in the distance. You know Ghost Rider is going to come eventually. And then we have, like, Man-Thing. It's already been on the screen. And Werewolf by Night and Elsa Bloodstone. And, like, just throw Jon Snow, Black Knight in the mix. Like, this is all a possibility to happen. And we're also not done reporting the news on this.
We do have a lot of these characters already established in the MCU, which I think is good for laying the groundwork for some sort of Midnight Suns project. But we did hear from 2 separate leakers this week, both of them sort of seemingly confirming the news that Michael Giacchino, the composer from Lost, by the way, who has been turned into director, he directed the Werewolf by Night special, which is amazing. There's persistent rumors that he is cooking up some sort of Midnight Suns project behind the scenes over at Marvel. So fingers crossed, this will be really cool to see.
Join the mystery mail call. This is the best way that you can support what we do. We've been doing this video every single week without skipping a beat, rain or shine, sickness, and in health.
Till death do us part.
We've like got a contractual agreement with our audience. We've basically brought the government into this room with us. We're going to just do it like this. Go to ComicTime101.com, join the community. We made a Chrissy Zulo Edge of Spiderverse #1 cover.
I signed a prenup. I'm excluded from this.
Join the community. And also, I got a Venom 25 Ralph Grassetti foil going out, 1 per box, too. It's
You keep just slipping that in there. That's,
It's
you got to
so
give that
cool.
its credit. That's a cooler book, and every time you're just like, you got a Venom. Anyway, moving on. But
You don't like Weapon 8? Come on, dude.
No, I don't.
He
but
got
I like
his own
Ralph
variant
I like Ralph
cover.
Grassetti, man.
They made his own variant cover.
Is it by Raph?
It's not by Raph.
Then I don't care.
Keep shaming Ryan in the chat and join the community. Support what we do. This is our very first Chrissy Zulo cover. We're very excited. And next on the list at number 2, you want to talk about butts? Talk about butts? You want to talk about butts? Okay.
Number 2 on the list, Todd McFarlane's favorite comic book of all time.
Everyone just hit the dislike. Is there still a dislike button? I don't remember.
I think there is. I just don't think it tells you how many people
I just
dislike it.
I don't look at it anymore.
You earned it with this one. This is going to be like our most disliked video ever. But
Do you dislike the new Rogue design? Because I know all those 90s kids that were watching the X-Men back in the day liked her extra curvy and thick. And for some reason, they kind of did away with that.
God, I just don't like hearing you say extra curvy or thick.
It's a little gross, but let's keep going.
But I think that right there surmises my feeling about this. Get this book because it's selling for $150.
It's the first appearance of Rogue.
$580 for a CGC 9.8 for the first appearance of Rogue. And Todd McFarlane's favorite comic book. He said that in interview with me. Hot damn.
I love this book. This is one of those that you'll find in a collection. It's just kind of a sleeper key because it's Avengers Annual number 10. So you're looking for a major X-Men character that first shows up in the Avengers run, and a lot of people weren't buying their annuals. So if you get this, it's kind of a book that you have to know, and it's becoming a bigger and bigger key every single year.
You know, it's not becoming bigger and bigger is Rogue's butt, because this book is on the list, as far as I can tell, because we got the trailer for X-Men 97 this week, and some people who watched it decided to freeze frame certain frames of this trailer.
What would happen if they gave her a giant butt? It would be
Like they
can you
used
imagine?
to?
They're like, "Come on, kids," and that's what they show. They're like, what are they? It's just like it's really silly. It's really, but if you really care, then you're being really silly.
Butts. We just got done talking about butts for a whole number on this list. For the first, hopefully last time, we're seeing 375% increase in copies sold of the first appearance of Rogue, because I'm getting the feeling people are going to be like looking at this and kind of doing that Wolverine meme in the bed when people are just looking at old Rogue. That's really dumb. Like us. Please like us.
Things are going downhill, guys. If you haven't figured it out after 6 years, we're just giving up. Hit the like, slap the subscribe button. But for real though, number 1 on the list, I think is a awesome book to own, and it's selling for like super cheap, and I think it is a timeless key comic book. Number 1 on the list.
If it wasn't before, it is now. X-Men Adventures #1. This is basically like the comic book equivalent of the X-Men animated series from back in the 90s. This first issue hit out.
This first what?
This first issue dropped in 1992. Tom's just laughing at me now. That's just how we're doing the rest of this video. $18 average sales for X-Men Adventures #1 with a high 9.8 from like today? Is that today? That's like 2 days ago. My days are all messed up. A high 9.8 hit $180
Oh
2
my
days
gosh,
ago.
180?
Only if she's 5'3".
Russ has been waiting to do a Sir Mix-a-Lot reference for like 10 minutes.
I'm just going to throw him in.
He was waiting for so
We gotta end
long.
this. Gape responsibly. Like, get out of here.
Crash
Go-
Down issue 3 comes out in a month, so you have to put your orders in really, really soon.
Yeah, that too.
I think we've devolved.
Like today. I think today's the deadline. If you're watching this the day the video comes out, then
Is this
you
Sunday
might
that
have
it's
a
the
chance.
deadline?
Yeah. You might have a chance to pre-order Crash Down 3 at the time you're watching this, but you probably don't, so who cares? We'll just cut this anyway.
Just bug your LCS. They may be able to put the order in.
Tell them they should have bought more copies, because I did.
An increase of 850%. And the trailer came out. People are excited. The book is awesome. I feel like it's going to be a timeless key no matter what. Clearly, it's been, brought back from the 90s for good reason. Crash Down issue 2 does come out on Wednesday. You need to go and pick it up. And the day of this release is the last day to put your orders in for issue #3. Please support our first written work, horror sci-fi with living horror legend Ben Temple-Smith.
Yeah, people die in it. It's pretty graphic and gross and scary, so if that's your jam, then, maybe go check it out.
We appreciate your time today, as always.
Geek responsibly.
Enough said.